Good? Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys stand up for 1 second. It's gonna help, I promise. Yeah, beautiful. And now just wave your hands. Yeah, just like stretch out. Beautiful. Thank you. I'm gonna take you back to June 2014. I had just, for the past 3 years, been working on a startup that failed miserably. I was always an A student, so failing a startup was a real failure. I remember sitting in front of my computer and thinking, where do I go now? I didn't even recognize who the person was, what I wanted in life. So I decided to take 3 months off and to go work with refugee kids. I took my camera and a sketchbook, and I went out to learn more about refugee children and what their lives look like and what do they go through. In my second month, a woman in her mid-40s gestures to me to go into her home, and I do. And I meet Ahmed, who changes my entire perception about how I live my life. Ahmed was a single mother to 7 children, and she's been in this refugee camp for over 35 years, and most of her day goes to taking care of her mentally disabled daughter, Lubna. And on my final day in the refugee camp, Ahmed looks at me, and she tells me something that I cherished from then on. She said that I had the privilege of choice. Today I'll get on a flight and I'll go back home, and if I don't like my life there, I can pack my bags and I can go somewhere else. And that in itself amazed me. I was sitting there thinking, wow, this universe is such a blessing that I had to be sitting in front of Ahmed, a stranger to me, for me to realize that I had a choice to change the way my life was. We are very interconnected, very similar like the connection of trees. If you walk into a forest and if you study trees, it's amazing how they communicate through this underground Thoron network. In fact, mother trees, also known as hub trees, communicate with their seedlings and can send nutrients or food or even sometimes aid to them so that they can grow in other communities. But what's absolutely fascinating is that the young trees can also signal messages back to the hub trees. If they're feeling danger or if they're feeling like they're dying, they can ask for help. And in a way, what I or you in this room do today can influence far-off communities, just like trees do. But the thing about choice is oftentimes we don't see that we have one. And somewhere along the lines, with all the global warming and all the pollution and all the refugee crises and the poverty, where have we lost our connection with nature? It started right after World War II, where the Industrial Revolution happened. Companies wanted to become rich, so they started to convince us, people, that the formula to happiness was a very simple one. If you wanted to be happy, you go out and you buy stuff. You buy clothes, you buy food, you buy things without really thinking where they come from or where they go. But let us take a step back and think how buying happiness is affecting our world. I want you all to get your iPhones out, or any phone you have, Samsung, whatever it is, just get your phones out, and I want us to do a visual exercise together. Your phone is made of raw materials. Silver, gold, copper, zinc, most of them extracted from mines like this one. These mines, there are hundreds and thousands of them in the world. We create them and we displace a lot of biodiversity just to extract more raw materials. The second step is, after the raw materials are out, we take them to factories and create chemical combustions to fuse them, to create the motherboards, to create the chips, the pieces that go into your beautiful device. This causes chemical hazardous pollution into the air that then circulates into our lung. But the most fascinating part of studying a phone is seeing how many hands work on one single phone. From the people who extract, to the people who assemble, to the people who design, to the shippers, to the packers. For it to reach you on a retail, there are almost 100 hands that touch a phone. Do we ever stop and think about these people and about their lives and what they're being paid? Do we have any idea? But the best part about looking at a product life cycle is where it ends. Most of the time, we throw products out, and when they're thrown out, they end up in landfills. In fact, 99% of the things that we buy, we dispose of in the first 6 months of use, which means we are trashing our planet at an alarming rate. We're actually producing 2.1 billion tons of waste a year, which is the equivalent to 420 million elephants. That's enormous. But the thing about this is that when you look at any product life cycle, not just a phone, but anything, it goes through this circle. And what's vicious about it is that we actually can impact, and we can stop this. That's why 3 years ago, when we decided to start a business, we wanted to put ethics in every single vertical of a business. We looked at building a business and influencing all the verticals from the extraction to the production to the profit. Charicycles was born in 2015. And essentially, what we do is we take bicycles that look like this, and we change them into bicycles that look like this. We upcycle bicycles that have been forgotten by people and left in landfills to extend their lease on life. The way we impact supply is instead of going back to these mines and extracting more raw materials, we decided to go to landfills. Landfills just like this, and it includes a lot of other things other than bikes. But the thing with bicycles is because they're made of steel, steel never ever decomposes. It will just sit in this landfill, it will rust, the rust will go to our soil, the soil will enter the water streams, then we drink. So the idea is, why not take this waste and reuse it? And that's exactly what we did. We de-rust the frames, we remove all the old paint, and we create new bicycles out of old ones. But how can we affect the product and convince consumers that buying a used, nasty bike is actually sexy? And what we did was we allowed every single customer to customize their bike. The idea is we are all unique, we are all different, and as a retail, let us celebrate our differences instead of mass producing. On a bicycle, you can customize the colors, you can customize the name, the stitching, you can go into the details that you want so that your bike expresses your identity. It's also a product that has a 360-degree holistic outlook. It's great for the health. In fact, did you know that if you cycle for 30 minutes every week, your chances of a heart attack is reduced dramatically? It's also great for mental well-being, and it's a great tool for commuting with no pollution. And finally, when we started to make profits, we wanted to share the wealth. And for that, for every 5 Charicycles that we sell, we donate a bicycle to a child in a refugee camp. The reason being, it takes me back to my work in the refugee camp. When you ask any child, what do you want for your birthday? The answer is almost always, I want a bicycle. Because a bicycle, just like it gives us the joy of freedom and feeling like we're young, it's the same feeling that a child in a refugee camp experiences. It's the right to mobility, and it's a right to the childhood that they've been robbed of. It's also a great tool for their health. And what we usually do is, instead of just donating bicycles and dumping them to the refugee camp, we incentivize them through a school educational reward program. So today, refugee camps with their size have become the size of cities. They're massive. And getting to school sometimes is a very tedious job. And also a lot of kids don't like to go to school. So if they go to school and week on week excel on a certain topic, they are actually gifted a bicycle. So they stay in school for longer. The reason why bicycles are very important, one is because they are truly the oldest innovation in the world. And because in a refugee camp, they're often used for emergency transport. There are so many times that ambulances are delayed and aid cannot reach a certain survivor. And so a bicycle is often used to actually transport things and move people around. It's also a great opportunity for business, and we've seen as much as we've donated bicycles, there is business opportunities that started to form in the refugee camps where somebody would open a little shack, fix the bicycles, and make a little bit of profit. But truly, if you've never assembled or disassembled a bike, it is the most therapeutic thing that you can ever do. Our journey so far is one that we couldn't have done alone. Through touching consumers' lives by showing them that they can actually impact every single vertical of a product life cycle, we were able together to save 40,000 kilograms of CO2 emissions and donate over 100 bicycles to children in refugee camps. In a way, we've built a business that mimics the network of trees, where a consumer can, if they invest in a Charicycle, influence their self in a positive way, their environment, but more importantly, help mobilize communities far away that need their help the most. The thing is, purchasing makes us happy, and it's such a mystical formula that we've never been able to untackle. But the idea is, why don't we redefine happiness? Instead of buying more products to touch more than one point of happiness, let us buy a single product that could be responsible for multiple points of happiness. What we've learned with Charicycles is that people, all people, want to do something heroic and epic in their lifetime. But oftentimes, they don't know what it is until you show it to them. And that is why, when our Charicyclists ride their bikes, every single time, they are reminded of three things. They are reminded of the impact they have on their bodies, they're reminded of the impact they have on the environment, and they're reminded of the impact they have on mobilizing kids in refugee camps. And that means one product could be responsible for multiple points of happiness. They feel prouder, and therefore they dispose less. The thing with social business is it's such a mystery. As an entrepreneur, anytime I wanted to solve a problem, my co-founder reminds me that to get to the top of the mountain, you take one step at a time. And recently I've heard an interesting one. How do you eat an elephant? Not that I eat an elephant or anything, I'm vegetarian, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, exactly. Social impact and changing the world is the same thing. To change the world, we first have to change the way we think about changing the world. Instead of choosing between business and impact, let us try to build business ideas. Let us try to change businesses so that they can impact more than one vertical, from the extraction to the production to the disposal. And so that means as businesses grow, so will their impact. And you as a consumer have a choice every single day when you're standing in front of a product to make a choice. To make that choice that can change and impact so many lives around the world, including your own. By being curious and asking the people who produce these products, where do these products come from? Who has done these products? And asking yourself, more importantly, do I really need to buy this? You're making a conscious consumer choice that is affecting everything around you. Before I close off today, I hope you can take one thing away from my talk today, and that is, don't wait. Don't wait to become millionaires, to impact and give to the causes and the people you care about. From something as simple as a smile to spending an hour in a hospital with a sick child, give what you can. Life is short and it's fleeting. And if it's one thing that Ahmed taught me, is that we do not get the chance to save a life every day, but we can choose to impact one. Small steps, one bicycle at a time. Thank you.